Today we're going to help you answer one of the most important questions in your divorce or de facto separation journey. Using our 20-question quiz that we're going to go through with you today, you're going to discover whether your situation is amicable, avoidant, high conflict, or manipulative and controlling. And you're going to learn why the answer may change everything for your strategies moving forwards. Because your divorce type is going to affect your stress levels, your strategy, your communication style, and how negotiation and the journey basically unfolds. So if you've thought, why is this hard? Or is it supposed to be like this? Then this episode's going to help you. And as you know, Mum and I have been talking about amicable, high conflict, avoidant, and manipulative controlling for a fair few years now. Yeah. And I think it was time for us, Mum, to revisit this topic because I think it is probably the reason we started this podcast in the first place.
I think that's right. I do remember way back when,
2020?
2020? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we realised, didn't we, Mum, back then, that you were seeing the same types of people and they were fitting into these 4 categories. And we've kind of discovered there's some other things that these 4 categories do since we did the first ever episode. And so today we're asking you to go grab a pen, or if you can't, we're going to ask the questions in chunks of 5. So you can just answer it in your head. They're multiple choice. It's not going to be hard, but it's going to get you to think. And it may be a little uncomfortable for some of you, and that may be because you don't want to face something, but it may also be eye-opening and very helpful for anyone who's just getting stuck and frustrated.
Hello, I'm Laura, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom.
Now, before we get started, just a reminder, Mum is not your lawyer. I am not a lawyer. We're definitely not psychologists. We're just helping you through this journey as a guide, being your guides by your side. But Mum, is there anything you wanted to say about this before we start the quiz?
Oh, yes. This may help you. These divorce personality types may help you understand why your friend's divorce went so differently to yours and might help you stop beating yourself up if you think it's something you've done.
That's right. The divorce shaming that we see sometimes going online where these trolls go, why can't you just sort it out amicably? Or why can't you do this? We did this. What's wrong with you?
You're so
but
right.
As you know, a judge has always said, Mum, that it only takes one bad person.
Well, not bad. One unreasonable person to end up in court. It is that shaming that you see and you think, what's wrong with me that I can't do this?
Yes. Okay. So whether you're walking the dog, just have these questions pondering in your mind. We're going to do 5 at a time, so you'll get an idea of it as we go. But just like this isn't a diagnosis. This is not a diagnosis of your ex being a narcissist. This is not a diagnosis of you being something. This is a strategy selector, basically.
I like that.
This is going to help you strategize because you can't use the amicable way of divorcing in a controlling, manipulative dynamic. So let's get through. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to pause then for you to think about it. And then I want you to choose either the answer A, B, C, or D. And then we're going to talk about, after the 5 questions, which one you have got the most of and what it means and what you can do. So let's get into it. Question 1, when a decision needs to be made, what usually happens? And this is when you were together, when you weren't fighting. Did you A, talk it through and reach an agreement? Usually. Did you B, you made the decision because your ex didn't want to get involved or didn't want to do anything? Was it C, it turned into an argument or a standoff? Or D, they told me what's happening and they expected strict compliance? So when a decision's made in your relationship, either now or in the past, which one were you? All right, now let's get to question 2. If you disagree with your ex, do you A, come to a compromise? Do you B, drop it to avoid any tension? Do you C, notice that the whole thing just escalates super quickly? Or D, do they punish you emotionally, financially, and through the kids if you disagree with
Until you apologise.
Or agree. 3, who drives the divorce process? Is it A, you're both doing it, you're both having some sort of say in how it's going? Or is it B, it's entirely you and they're not doing squat? Is it C, the lawyers and the conflict drive it? Or is it D, your ex is controlling the pace and the direction, and you just have to wait to see what happens next.
Mhm.
Question 4, how do you feel about raising issues? Are you A, comfortable with doing that? Are you B, anxious and you'd rather not raise any problems? Or are you C, defensive and brace for a fight if you raise any issues? Or are you D, afraid if you raise any issues that there might be consequences? And the last question for this lot, question 5, when paperwork or forms need to be filled in, and do you A, cooperate to do it? B, do they delay and ignore it till you're pulling your hair out? Or is it C, they nitpick everything you put down and challenge everything you've written? Or D, they withhold the information and drip feed it to you?
Mhm.
All right. So I guess if you haven't picked up on that, a lot of the questions were really about cooperation, escalation, controlling. So if you got mostly A's, then surprise, you're probably in an amicable dynamic for that part. If you got mostly B's, then your ex is probably avoidant. If you got mostly C's, you're in a high conflict pattern. And if you got mostly D's, you're probably leaning towards coercive, controlling, or manipulative and controlling behaviours. So that's the first 5 questions. Don't stress, we're not fully at your strategy yet because it's just the first 5. But Mum, basically in that one, I mean, people would know, right? Just from that, our listeners, they're going to go, oh, yeah, I'm definitely amicable, or oh, it's definitely Hong Kong.
So there might be people listening who've answered, say, yes to the high conflict, like got mostly, is it C's? But actually, there might be something else going on. So, and some people are a medley of 2 or a mix-up of 2. But mostly, I think people, it's not until they've got stepped away from a divorce, usually, that they're from a relationship that they're able to unpick enough to know if they're in a manipulative and controlling, or if it's been manipulative and controlling, or the high conflict side might not show until you're separated.
There's some good questions there to be really looking at. If you're really just questioning it, you know, what happened in the past? What usually happened with decision making? You know, what happened if you disagreed in the past? Is that still happening now, or has something shifted? Or are you noticing that you have to agree and you maybe didn't notice it before and you just kind of always gave in? And, you know, that question about who's driving the divorce process is really a telling one. You know, is it the conflict and the lawyers driving it, or is it you doing it all? Because obviously then your ex must be avoidant or manipulative and controlling.
Yes.
But these are questions, I guess, they sound like no-brainers, but how often are people asking themselves these questions?
They don't. And when we were talking about it years ago, we were quickly able to unpick that in my career. I learned very early on that you don't write the same sort of letter to each of these people. So I don't think you do identify it immediately, but it's very helpful for people when they're going into their separation and divorce to just have look on what sort of relationship that they've got and what's like. It'll give you a reasonably good prediction of their behaviour, your behaviour maybe, and your outcomes.
And I think it's a really eye-opening reminder, you know, that escalation can really happen quite quickly, particularly with a couple of those types. And how do you make sure, you know, that you don't escalate the situation? And what can you do to write to your ex in a way that's not going to make them go into a spin?
Yep. Sometimes even a word in a letter can. I remember many years ago, I was instructed by my client that his partner was a secretary. And so I wrote to her about her being a secretary. And my client had really dropped me in it because she had a PhD and she was a doctor of something or other at the university. And so
it was a deliberate.
Yes, that was a deliberate provocation. But, you know, it's easy for a lawyer to just use the wrong language, long word, and trigger a reaction from that other person. If I'd known, I would never have written in that form because, of course, she was a nightmare to deal with after that.
And so if you've got a lawyer, you should, and your lawyer is the one who's writing these letters, make sure you go really think about it and go, actually, this could really make my case a heck of a lot worse. Or if we do it in this particular way, they're going to be more open to suggestions and compromise. So have a think about that. Let's do the next couple of questions. And these are all around boundaries, money, and emotional safety. Okay. So again, if you don't have your pen and paper, don't worry, you can download these. If you're on our email list, our newsletter, you can get a copy of this next week. But how does your ex respond to boundaries? Do they A, respect them, B, avoid them, C, challenge or push back hard. Or D, they try to completely override them or punish you for setting
Trample
them in
all
the first
over
place.
them, yeah.
So think about your boundaries. What kind of boundaries are you setting? Are you setting boundaries where your ex isn't allowed in the house anymore because they've moved out? Or, your boundaries are, I only want to have this discussion between 9 and 5. I'm not going to be answering your relentless text messages. What boundaries?
Or not, we're never going to talk in front of the kids, and then they do. Yeah.
So have a little bit think about that. Are they respecting them, avoiding them, pushing back hard on them, or trying to override or punish?
Or are you afraid to have boundaries?
That's true. Question 7, what happens around money discussions? And this can be before your relationship ended or after. Did you A, have open conversations? Did you B, have silence or avoidance when it came to money? C, was there accusations and blame if there was any money issues? Or D, is there control and secrecy and intimidation? Now, straight off the bat, we can say D, if there's any non-disclosure. That's a big one, isn't there?
It can be couched though in, don't you worry about that. I've got the money sorted. You just look after your side of the thing. So it can sound like it's a very loving thing to do, but it might not be. It might be more keeping it all in there, close to their chest. Yeah.
All right. Question 8, how do you feel after interacting with your ex? Do you A, calm and neutral? Or B, drained and overwhelmed? Or C, angry and fired up? Or D, small, confused, or doubting yourself? There's some big questions. What kind of feelings do you have? And it'll be that feeling that you have after you've just sent them a text or that you've read an email from them or you got a letter from their lawyer, or if you're still separated under one roof, what do you feel when you just have to be in the same room for an hour or two? Is it calm? Is it drained? Is it angry? Or is it confused and doubting yourself? So choose A, B, C, or D there. Now, question 9, if there's a disagreement about the children, if you've got kids, I guess you could replace that with puppies or your pet. There's a disagreement about them, but without your kids, do you A, focus on the children and make child-focused decisions? Do you B, just manage to get it done alone? C, it becomes a massive battleground? Or D, they use the children then to exert more control over you? Because that could be where, and we've talked about this with Mia in the Narcissist Playbook, where they just basically say, people are too afraid to ask their ex about something to do with the kids if there's a disagreement because they know that their ex is then going to use it to somehow lord it over them or manipulate them more or use it as leverage. So if that's that kind of feeling, then you're D.
Yeah, everything's a battle and a weapon if you're in D.
Yeah. And lastly, the question for this category is, who sets the rules? Do you A, you agree together? B, there's no rules. It's just whatever. C, rules are constantly contested. Or D, rules only apply to me. So have a little think. Have you got rules that you have to follow? Now, and I heard a really telling one, especially for D again. I know I'm harping on it, but the manipulative and controlling types. There's unspoken rules that have never even been said, that some people come out of their relationship and go, I was never allowed to do that. And someone will say, well, did they say you weren't allowed to do that? And they'll go, no, they didn't say I couldn't do it, but if I did do it, I would get the silent treatment, I'd get no money in my bank account, or I wouldn't be allowed to do this or this. But they'd never say why, but I knew why.
It's so kind of a punishment law. And that banging pans around in the kitchen and just generally you can tell there's an issue. And that's a form of emotional abuse, have that happen. But yes, hearing any grown human say in relation to their personal lives, as long as it's legal, that they're not allowed to do something is a big red flag for me.
The rules setting in divorce, there are rules. You have to come up with some rules. And it might be, oh, we don't speak to the kids about this until, they've seen their psychologist. But if you're trying to deal with an avoidant person and you're trying to come up with some strategies for the kids and the avoidant person is just like, nah, whatever, I don't want to talk about it, that can be just as stressful and hard to deal with.
But there's ways to manage them. Once you know exactly what you're kind of dealing with, I think that's the thing. Once you know, you can tailor everything to suit that and you won't be not beating yourself up for the way that the case is going or how slow it is for you to get to an agreement on something. Yeah.
And so in those questions, when we talked about money, money is a big topic.
It's independence, your own independence. As I said, that's one thing that I've learned more because we've talked to so many more people over the last 5 years, like consistently and drilling down into this behaviours. And a lot of people have been deprived of their independence. They've been deprived of their independence in decision-making because of the avoidance of the other person, so they have to sort of work around. Then they can also be deprived if there's high conflict and they just go, oh, I'm not doing this. And also if there's manipulative and controlling, like you say, with the silent treatment. And so you gradually give little bits of yourself away during the relationship. And I suspect at some point that's what makes it buckle, when you're no longer prepared to do that.
And I think if people are listening to this who think they're amicable, but the rules seem to only apply to you, not to your ex, you need to ask yourself, is it amicable? Or is it, as Mum calls it, amicable in wolf's clothing or sheep's clothing?
Manipulative and controlling in amicable's clothing. And another way of saying that, Rosie, and that would be our cushion thing, would be if it's only amicable until you say no, then it was never amicable.
Again, have a little think about who's setting the rules now or in the past. What happens when there's a disagreement on the kids? And how do you feel after you have to interact with your kids? Or how do you feel if you have to? Like some people, they feel these feelings before they've even spoken to their ex because they know what's going to happen. And when it comes to money as well, it's the same thing where I've spoken to some of our members where the obvious decision is to go and ask your ex to take some of the money out of the account so that they can live on it. But they're too afraid to, or they're too worried that if they do, that's going to cause trouble. And people need to be aware of those, what type of personality type you're dealing with, because how you not just deal with them, but how you frame your mindset. Because basically some of these people have been trained not to speak up, to not ask for, say anything, to just sit and be quiet. So you really need to think about, what are the rules in your relationship? Even though it's separation, what are the rules now? And can you change that dynamic? And if you can't change the dynamic, how do you work around it?
And if you've got money in a bank account, we see this a lot, don't we, Laura? It's two names, joint names, money there, but the people won't touch it because they're scared of what the other person would do. Well, I always say to those people, what would you advise your friend to do? If you had a friend, this was the situation. Why is one person more entitled to that money than she is or he is? So, there's a lot to work through. And also, Rose, there's not just the dynamic of you realising what you're going through and what you're dealing with. The person who's being left sometimes doesn't see it coming because, like you said, you'll stop arguing. You'll follow the rules. All the time, though, you're falling out of this relationship, but they don't see the difference. And so when you go, it's a big shock and they can lash out. They can expect you to continue to behave in the same way as you did during the relationship. And they indeed will expect they're going to continue. So there's kind of shocks around and you're at different levels of coming to grips with the breakdown of the relationship. That's why these strategies, taking into account the personalities, and like we say, it's the divorce personality. It's what personality your divorce is taking on. Is what
and really what you're doing right now is choosing a strategy to face.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to talk about the strategies to take. So don't worry if you're amicable or you're avoidant. I know we've been harping on a bit too much about manipulative and controlling, but let's get to the next 5 questions.
Okay.
So these are around rules, power, and information flow. So when plans change unexpectedly, and this could be co-parenting drama, little Johnny's sick, he can't go to soccer, so dad can't pick him up from soccer, has to pick him up from your house, as an example. Do you A, communicate and sort it out?
Yep.
Do B, he just disappears, your ex just doesn't even respond, doesn't even want to solve it or deal with the change in plans? C, they explode. How dare you? Why did you not send little Johnny to soccer? I don't think he's sick. You're just making it up.
Prove it to me.
Or D, they weaponize the change. Well, if you're going to make me pick him up from your house and not from soccer, you need to give me an extra 2 days next week, or you need to pay for my petrol to do it, or I'm going to make sure that little Johnny does this and you're going to have to blah, blah, blah. So when plans change unexpectedly, do you A, communicate, B, they disappear, C, they explode, or D, they weaponize the change. Now, 12, how do they talk about divorce? Do they talk about it pragmatically? What does pragmatically mean?
It just
again,
means, do they talk about it practically, very sensibly, as though it's something that's not uncommon and that they can deal with it in a way that doesn't involve them getting heightened emotions?
Right. So talking about it treating it like a business.
Yes, and like a grown-up.
Yeah, like a big girl, big boy. Yeah. Okay. Do they A, talk about it pragmatically, or B, they don't talk about it at all? C, they talk about it with anger and blame. Oh, well, blah, 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 this, and he did that, and she did this, and then they did this, and blah, blah. Or D, do they talk about it with threats, pressure, or guilt? So I think the guilt kind of things that might be is like, the divorce left me alone. She left nothing. She took everything. I'm so alone. Or saying it to you, you've left me alone. What am I going to do? I don't have any friends, or whatever they're going to say. Yeah. Or is it, if you get divorced, I'm going to take you and clean you out.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah.
But they're all Ds.
Yes,
they're all Ds.
They are all Ds.
So
with the behaving badly about the idea of divorce and the poor little me, they will run, not walk, they will run to your family and friends to get their side of the story in first. So if that's happened to you, we feel sorry for you, but your ex is just running by the standard playbook.
Yes. And if you'd like to listen to that one, you can go and listen to the 7 phases of divorcing a narcissist, or the narcissist playbook.
Yeah.
All right, question 13. How do you feel about asking for fairness? And I guess when we say that, it might be fairness in your property settlement, or fairness in time with the children, or fairness in,
not running up your legal fees.
Or fairness in asking for disclosure.
Yes.
Or anything, really. Yeah. So if you're asking for something that you know in your heart is fair, you've been told by your lawyers it's fair, do you feel A, confident in asking your ex for that? B, uncomfortable? C, feel like you need armor before you ask for anything fair? Or D, actually feel quite unsafe?
Yeah.
And then 14, what happens if you say no? And we've already talked about this in the first couple. A, it's respected. B, they disengage. They shut down. C, they argue harder. Or D, they retaliate.
That's making me feel uncomfortable, but you're right.
And last question is, who controls the information? Is it A, shared openly? B, no one? It just doesn't happen. There is no information sharing. C, it's disputed constantly. Or D, my ex controls any information or anything that I know about anything. And that could be, let's think about who controls the information. Think about it before you got separated and now. It may have changed, but are you A, sharing openly? B, no one's sharing anything? C, it's constantly being disputed? Or D, you don't think you're actually getting anything controls it?
Yeah, and often too in D, you've got an idea. There might have been pay rises or something else happening, but now that there's hardly any physical correspondence coming through, a lot of people years ago, they'd know what's super fun because they'd just see it on the envelope when the mail came. But now it's super private, our world, and people get it to their email address. And it's easy to hide stuff.
And I think when it comes to divorce and going through property settlement in particular, the information is so important. But who controls the information can really control the speed and the pace and the fairness of a divorce.
And the expense.
If you can't get disclosure, if you can't get the information you need to make a proper settlement, you could end up missing out or you could end up spending a butt ton of money on lawyers.
Yeah.
So information control is quite important. And
I used to say to my clients when disclosure was required, I say you've got to metaphorically turn out your pockets. Every single bit of information, send it over. It is what it is, and you will have to give it to the other side at some stage, whether you do it properly and willingly or whether you do it under the sort of the pressure of the court and expenses and the risk of costs. You've still got to give the information, so do it.
Right. Let's get on to the last 5 questions
Okay.
and then we'll talk strategy.
Okay.
You're invited to our free webinar. Whether you're stuck at the beginning of deciding to divorce or you're struggling to find your way through the legal jargon and fear of the unknown of the legal process, we are here to empower you to take control. Join us to learn what steps you can take, followed by a live Q&A where you get Lynn, my amazing mum, and family law accredited specialist to answer your question. All you have to do is go to www.thedivorcecourse.com.au and click on Reserve My Seat. We'll see you there. Hurry, spaces are limited, so don't miss out. Register today.
Let's get on to the last 5 questions
Okay.
and then we'll talk strategy.
Okay.
So question 16, how does your ex view compromise? Do they see it A, as necessary, B, avoidable, C, a weakness, or D, a tool to manipulate? So when you are negotiating and you're trying to get some compromise and you give in a little bit, does your ex jump on that, a sign of weakness, and then try and claw more out? Or do they use it as a way to continue to manipulate you? I think when it comes to answer B, 16, how does your ex view compromise? But also they don't even want to acknowledge it, I think.
Being an avoidant person sometimes is a strategy to manipulate and control someone.
That's true. That's true. All right, question 17. When deadlines approach, did your lawyer send you a 2-week deadline? Is there a court deadline?
Is there a school deadline? You've got to fill a form in by this date. Yeah.
Yeah, taxes are due and you guys was together. Do you A, meet them together or we meet them? B, you are chasing the deadline endlessly? C, they're used to escalate the situations. Or D, they're used as leverage.
Yes. Yeah. And often a person who's manipulative and controlling doesn't give 2 hoots about deadlines and legal requirements and so forth. And you probably do. So you'll get stressed and they don't care.
And how does a manipulative and controlling person use deadlines as leverage sometimes, Mum?
Heaps of times I see it in businesses and tax returns. I see it in signing the kids to a certain school. I see it in delays in signing passports when there's a camp coming up or something. If there's private collect with child support, they delay paying the child support, they're inconsistent. You have to actually try to be that inconsistent sometimes just to keep the other person guessing. And they just enjoy that little impact that they can have. And of course, until you go to court and you're trying to follow the guidelines, central practice directions of negotiations before court, they don't care about those. It's like having a dog off the leash and trying to get it to behave. It's like they'll just blow you a raspberry. And sometimes you have to get a manipulative, controlling person into court before they even begin to meet deadlines. And even then, they don't always. But the court has ways.
Okay. Number 18, How predictable is your ex's behaviour? Is it A, very predictable, B, inconsistently absent, C, consistently volatile, D, strategically unpredictable? Yeah.
But
So can you predict how your ex is going to behave, or have you got no idea who they're going to turn up as tomorrow or the next? Because based on whether you've said yes to something or no to something, that kind of unpredictable behaviour can be a strategy in itself to keep you unbalanced.
And if you've got someone who has been high conflict or manipulative and controlling with their workmates, with tradesmen, with their families, and you haven't really been subject to that much while you're in the tent in the relationship, once you step out, you'll probably find you're getting the same treatment. So you mightn't like to think that, but you may well find yourself being dealt with as a business rival.
All right. Next question, number 19. How would you describe the power balance? Is it even? B, you carry all the load. C, it's a constant tug of war. Or D, they hold the power. So, and then the last question, deep down. Now, have a real think. What's your biggest concern? Is it A, keeping things fair and respectful? Is it B, getting anything done at all? Is it C, surviving the conflict? Or is it D, escaping the control? So have a think. What is your biggest concern? What is your main focus? And you might not even realize that is your concern till you dig down and think about why you're behaving and acting the way you are. Because some people, if their main aim is and their biggest concern is just escaping the control, when it comes to property settlement and kids' things, they go, I don't care. I'll agree to anything. I just got to get out. Just got to get away from this idiot.
But with property than with children. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that is a reason you need to be aware of the strategies that you can use for manipulative controlling, because your biggest concern drives basically the outcome of your case. So if you're C trying to just survive a conflict from a high conflict person, are you dropping the rope on things you shouldn't be dropping the rope on? Or, is that going to affect your property settlement outcome? And B, if your deep down biggest concern is to get everything done because you've got an avoidant, are you rushing it? Are you just slapping it all together because you just want it done? Or A, if you're keeping things respectful and fair, obviously, then that's a good concern to have.
If you've got a manipulative and controlling ex and you just want to escape with, the kids and just get out of it, and you're prepared to drop down in dollars and percentages to do that, they are still therefore calling the shots, because you might think you're exercising your free will, but actually it's a reaction to their behaviour to you. So sometimes people have to be careful not to settle too quickly. And then as they realise that their ex isn't the monster or isn't as powerful as they'd led them to believe, and as they get their own self-respect back, and you go, well, hang on, excuse me.
Who died and made you boss, as you say.
Who died and made you boss? Yes.
That's right. And we've gone through those 20s, and I do want to point out, maybe to me a little bit, because we've been talking about it for so long, it does seem like a no-brainer. And we'd go, well, obviously you know what type of personality you have based on those answers. But just in case, because we have had people write to us, Mum, and say, listening to our podcast made them realise they were in a coercive controlling relationship.
Yes.
So if you were mostly A's, you're amicable.
Yeah.
Good for you. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Mostly B's, you're with an avoidant. And that's we're going to talk about as well. Mostly C's, you're in high conflict. And mostly D's, you're probably in a controlling and manipulative relationship. Might not be coercive control, but it is a controlling and manipulative relationship. So I do want you to reflect on those questions again later in your own time. Have a little think about the answers. I felt uncomfortable saying some of those. Yucky.
Yes.
Did it make you feel a bit yucky?
Oh, it does. I'm sort of, deep down.
But let's get into amicable quickly.
Okay.
So, if it truly is amicable,
brilliant,
then that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Check you're not a people pleaser as well. So you could still be amicable, but still be a people pleaser, because sometimes being too nice and wanting to please everyone is going to backfire spectacularly on you.
It's the pattern that you had during the relationship of keeping the peace. You're in love, you're in a relationship, so you cooperate and you're amicable. And if that dynamic carries on past there, you may not even see it. You may not even see that there are points beyond which you won't go because you know it's going to cause a ruckus.
Now, we're not encouraging you to not have an amicable divorce, but what we're trying to point out to you is amicable doesn't mean you don't disagree. Amicable doesn't mean that one of you might be saying 70%, one of you might be saying 65%. You can still have an amicable divorce and discuss and negotiate percentages.
Absolutely.
That's what I think people really need to know. Coming from a people pleaser myself,
yes,
walking into a mediation, I wanted to please the mediator. I wanted to please the lawyers. I knew that everybody wanted to go and have lunch. I wanted to try thinking about everybody else.
Oh, darling. And then I wasn't there to sort of flex my muscles
the way
a
the
bit.
Cookie crumbles. But mindset-wise, if you are in amicable, you probably are a wonderful person as well. But don't feel shame if you're not amicable. But I want anyone listening as a people pleaser to just really remind yourself, why are you in the room? Why are you mediating? Why are you negotiating with your ex? And is it just to make them happy and to make sure everyone thinks you're a good person and you had a good divorce? Or are you in there for the right reasons, which is to make sure you get a fair and equitable outcome for you and your future?
Maybe amicable should also include respectful. Amicable and respectful separation. I think that's what we mean by that.
Yes. Yeah. Not just saying yes to everything. By the way, amicable, you could totally do your property and children's matters, create consent orders, file them in the court, and be done with your divorce, couldn't you, Mum?
Yeah, we've had people do that. lots of people.
You don't really need to see lawyers much, do you?
No, a couple of times maybe, just to make sure you're both on the right track. But yeah, heaps of people. The court encourages people to try to do their own.
Yeah, and we've got our online course, perfect for amicable people because they can just jump in there, fill in the forms, create their own documents, learn what they need to learn, get out and save themselves thousands. So kudos to you guys. Now, B, avoidant. That's a lot of mental load to carry. That's a lot of work to do.
I think they're the worst to try to divorce.
Well, burnout. You're totally going to burn out if you haven't already. And I think people don't talk about this enough with avoidant divorces. Mum, tell me what you think. Do not think half the reason they leave their ex is because they're burnt out, because they have had to do everything. And now they've finally left. They're like, thank goodness.
And
now they've got to do.
Yes, I've had people describe being in a relationship where the other person just doesn't face issues as being like walking around with a bag of sand tied to one ankle, just trying to get through. And sometimes avoidant people have mental health issues, of course. Sometimes they're just lazy. Sometimes they're making you pay if you're the one who wants to leave. Well, I'm not having anything to do with it then. You do it. And it is really hard and you do get burnt out. And I think that leaving a relationship like that, you start to think, oh, this is great. Oh, I'll never have to do that again. And then it's like, oh, hang on. But you just got to hold it a little bit longer. Yes. But it's in both people's interests. Like an avoidant person may be just scared, maybe afraid of the outcomes or where am I going to live? What's going to happen next? And the what ifs are probably more worrying than the reality. So just put your nanny hat back on and go back into helping the little one to come to a conclusion.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess the only things that they can rely on with strategy-wise is, creating a lot of structure for yourself.
Yes.
So that you don't go insane. So you're not overwhelmed, have that path to follow and just take one step at a time. If you burn out just trying to do everything and try and figure everything out on your own, you could end up in what a lot of people end up in, this divorce limbo, where they've been living separate under one house for 5 years. Just nothing's happening because you've tried to do everything and it was like ramming your head against a wall and now you're completely burnt out and you just have nowhere to go. So it's really important to get some structure, some deadlines, and some external accountability. And I think that's why I think our course is really good. Yeah. We do have actually avoidant members themselves who have identified as avoidant. And to help them along, they come to the Q&As every week.
Yeah, just for a little push.
What step do I need to take next? Oh, everybody else is doing it, so I'm doing it. Because Mum, you used to do that with study. You'd have someone next to you on YouTube. Didn't you watch YouTube videos of people studying so you would study?
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm older. There wasn't such a thing. My high-tech thing was a cassette. It's kind of body doubling. It's body doubling. And I used to follow a doctor in the UK. And when I had to write papers and things, he'd be there. He would, it's just, it just made it easier.
So if you are in our course, watching our lessons, go, okay, I'm going to do one lesson today to get through it, or you're body doubling because you have to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
This might give you a little bit of extra support because it's not like you've got teamwork going on like the Amicable has. You've got this big sack you've got to carry. Just really take care of yourself though, because I am concerned about burnout for a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
Now, type C, if you've got mostly Cs, you've got high conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything becomes a battleground.
Yes, but it's good because it's not hidden. It's how they've always done things, at least with other people. Yes. And facts are king. If you say it's Wednesday, they're going to say it's Tuesday. You may have to prove it. It's Wednesday So instead of saying it's Wednesday, say it's Wednesday and here's a screenshot of my phone, kind of just preempt.
To have a pure high conflict, I think they're the ones that aren't manipulative as well, because there is a lot of people who have manipulative, controlling and high conflict.
Yes.
But we're talking about the really just high conflict. And I see them in my mind. You might see your ex like this if you've got one. If you waved a red flag in front of the bull and the bull's like, oh, I'm dumb as guts, just silly, run straight at it. You know what I mean? That kind of high conflict.
And they can't
see so predictable.
And what's good about them is they can't really hide it. So if a person is purely high conflict and they just get off on that sort of thing, they're going to be high conflict with their lawyers and everyone else they come across. So you may find that your ex is changing lawyers often or refusing to have lawyers, but at least it's not disguised in any way. You can just see they're angry and their conflict.
And here we go again. So I think it's important to point out for high conflict, they thrive on escalation. They love it. They love that red flag so they can run at it. So your job, unfortunately for you, is to de-escalate.
Yes.
It's to, like Mum said, document everything, have all the proof you need, and emotionally detach from the situation.
It's like bouncers or security guards. You know, if someone's raving and ranting, they don't go up and go, "Whoa, would you? Oh, mate, I'll do." They go, "Come along now. Why don't we just go here?" And so that's going to be you, just keeping it calm. And facts, as we said, are king. And our templates of the letters we write to these sort of people, we try to minimize what we say, because if you have 8 sentences, they've got 8 sentences to argue.
Yes,
So you just kind of keep it a quite concise correspondence and a very neutral tone. At least you know what you're dealing with, because they can't hide it.
That's true. And if you have to drop the rope on some things that aren't important, then that you need to know when to drop the rope and when not to drop the rope. That's why it's good to know legally what you're entitled to or legally what's going on, and why the course is so good for that. Okay, I don't need to argue this point. It's actually not relevant to getting divorced.
Yeah, we use that drop the rope because we think it's like a tug of war, you know, a bit their way, a bit there your way. And then at some point you go, you know what? I'm not.
Good luck. Have fun with yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Now, type D, and that's if you got mostly Ds. Number 1, don't feel bad. You haven't done anything wrong. You just, unfortunately, did the reverse of winning the lotto when it comes to a partner.
And you are a good person and a lovely person, because really manipulative and controlling people, no one else will put up with them. So they find people with very loving, open hearts. So we see you.
Now, first of all, logic doesn't work here. There's no logic here. We had an example with Mia where they had parenting orders or interim parenting orders, and it was they'd counted the number of days for the school holidays, and they'd incorrectly written in the orders a sum. It was like 17 times 2, 16. Is that right?
7 times 2 equals 16 instead of 14, yes.
Instead of 14. And everyone knows that it's 14, but the manipulative and controlling ex said, no, the orders say it's 16, so I get 16 days. So you are going to have illogical issues with these people. And there's going to be power plays, there's going to be intimidation. And like we've talked about before, they're going to be a little bit unpredictable when it comes to who is going to show up today, because there's like a lot of different faces with these kind of people.
And they say it's very hard to predict what their case is, because they will come up with stuff that never happened. Where did you get that from? It's completely out of left field. And you've got this ridiculous accusation, which when I was going through this sort of stuff, I was inclined to just laugh and leave it. But then you realise I can't just not address it. But just be ready for that, and don't feel bad if your manipulative and controlling ex is really good at being manipulative and controlling.
And while Mum said they're unpredictable in what they come up with, and we know that they'll be unpredictable in who they're going to show up as on a petite, because in front of you at the front of the house for handover, they might be an absolute crazy person. But in front of the mediator, they might be like acting like a saint. When it comes to that kind of behaviour,
it is predictable.
You can predict they're going to do that. You can predict they're going to be coming up with crazy stories, and you can predict that they're going to change who they are depending on where they are.
I was in a mediation with a person who had been very steadily abused and had been terrified in the relationship. And we met for the conciliation conference, sitting around the table while the mediator gave their spiel. And this other person stood up and offered my client a drink of water, and she nearly fell off the chair. Would you like a drink? She said to me, he hasn't said a word to me for 8 weeks.
It's probably the kind of person that wouldn't give her a drink of water if she was dying on the road of thirst.
But when the mediator's there and 2 lawyers, I'm perfect. I had to reassure her that I completely believed her and that I wasn't as surprised as she was at the change in nature. But yes, but all of those people, those types of people, Laura, are different, and we deal with them differently. I always did in my career, and I think it's the right way to do it.
If you are, like one of the questions was, how do you feel about raising something or saying no? And if you are afraid to say, don't agree with that, or if you're afraid to ask for something, I think it's really important that you have a safety plan. Your inner gut tells you, I'm not safe.
Yeah.
Even if they've never laid a hand on you, ever. If your inner gut tells you you're not safe, you need a safety plan, because that kind of coercive control, the dangerous stuff, is the ones where they don't beat you up. They're the ones that don't give you bruises because they're sneaky and manipulative and they don't want people to know. They're clever when it comes to trying to hide that sort of stuff. Yeah. They're not clever in the real word, in the real sense of the word, but they're hiding things.
Sneaky.
So a safety plan is a very good idea. We have a whole episode on how to create your own safety plan. And you might say, that's ridiculous because I've lived with them forever. And even though I'm afraid of them, I know they would never do anything. But deep down your gut's saying, but I'm too scared to say it. Then do a safety plan anyway. You don't need to tell anyone. You just need to have it in your head. And because you'll never have time to plan your safety plan
when you need one.
You need it.
That's right. And if you feel a little bit silly or you think you might be going over the top or melodramatic, just ask yourself, how are you sleeping at the moment? Are you sleeping peacefully? I don't mean have you got your ears listening for intruders, but are you tense all of the time? And it might be that you need to get yourself somewhere where you feel safe. And then you can relax and then properly manage your family law case.
And really, please educate yourself on coercive control patterns. We've got a great episode on the Purple Book where we talk about all the different abuse cycles and all the things. And once you start to open your eyes to coercive control and the patterns, you may actually be surprised,
shocked
of what you have been through.
Yep.
A lot of people don't even know they're in an abusive relationship until they've left.
Yes.
I saw a meme the other day and it was all my friends and family when I talk about something that happened that I think is normal in my relationship. And they're all at the table going, so if you've had those moments with family and friends where you go, oh no, this happened, and they're all like, what?
Do you know?
Then yes, you might need to figure out and educate yourself on coercive control.
One of my jaw drop moments years and years ago was I heard Penelope Keith, an actress, a British actress on TV. She was talking in the 70s about how she and her husband shared the housework, which was quite novel in the 1970s. And they had a cat, and she said, we take turns in emptying the cat's litter tray. And I was like, we didn't have a cat. And she said, words that these might be my cushion words. She said, whatever comes out of our cat's bum is both our problem.
Oh, gosh. That is not going to be the cushion, Mum. Jeez.
But I was gobsmacked because I would never dared to say that or anything like it, even think it.
So we've got these 4 types, and you've done the quiz, and you might want to rewind and re-listen and do the quiz again to make sure. But what do? Well, in our course, we have practical strategies. We've got boundaries to show you how to set up them. We've got a great episode called 10 Boundaries You Should Set Up Before Divorce. We've got the communication scripts, different letters based on the types. We show you, as you go through the course, how to approach the different legal structures when you're doing property settlement based on the divorce personality types. And we also talk about how to take care of yourself and your self-care. And so if you want to learn more about what to do once you figure out what divorce personality type you've got, if you want to get more help, if you're pulling your hair out with an avoidant, if you're feeling like you're going mad with a manipulative and controlling, or if you're just over your high conflict and you need a little bit of support, then I really do think the Divorce Course Blueprint is perfect for you. We have weekly Q&As too. You can come along and talk to me and Mum, and if plans go awry and you do have to negotiate a new plan and everything goes to hell, you can come along to the Q&A and go, what do I do?
Yep.
And take this journey with other people who have got an avoidant. Get some stress. How many times, Mum, have we had in the Q&A where they've got, are you married to my husband? Or are you married to my wife? So
you could be describing my situation. Yes.
Yes. It's not funny sometimes.
No.
It's sad.
But over the thousands and probably thousands of people that I've dealt with over 35 years and then through this course, those types remain fairly constant. So you will find like-minded people, and we do have strategies that will help each stage. It's like if you know the road's going to be particularly rocky, you might want to take a 4-wheel drive for that trip. Or if you're just doing a suburban trip, a little amicable one, you might just want a mini motor. But I think, by identifying those strands, I think we are doing the best we can to help you get to an end as quickly and as cheaply as you can. And we have,
Yes.
like law firms have precedent letters. We live and breathe on precedent letters, and it's one size fits all. We change the
Precedent
names.
just means template.
Templates, right.
Yeah.
So we change the names and maybe the property pool, but people would just get the same letter, no matter what the state of your relationship or your personality type. And I picked up pretty early that some people reacted quite badly to what a lawyer would think is just a straightforward legal letter, but the person who received it felt it was like a slap in the face. And so, you've got to steady it down and match them.
So if you've gone through today in the questionnaire, you can go back and do it again. You can rewind and do it as many times as you like. That'll help our download listens. But when to seek extra support just in this moment, I mean, of course, come and do the course. We've got the webinar that starts next week. Go and do that with us, or join the Divorce Course Blueprint and you can chat with us every week. But I really want anyone who's here today, if you've got signs of burnout, psychologist, go and see your doctor, because that's really hard to drag yourself out of. So if you have got burnout, you've left your ex because they're avoidant and painful, you need to be in the best physical health you can be in, as well as mental, to face this. If you are experiencing signs of coercive control, please call 1-800-RESPECT. Please go see a psychologist. Please get some help. Don't just acknowledge it and then do nothing about it. And I know to some people ringing 1-800-RESPECT may feel like, oh, well, that's for the people that have really got bad situations. That's not the case. It's there for anyone going through any kind of control. Sometimes people don't think their situation is bad enough. And then when they do ring and finally talk to someone, they realize their situation is very, very bad.
And it's hard to accept, isn't it? It's hard to accept.
So also have a look from those questions after you've done them. Do you feel like you need some more legal clarity? Do you feel like if you had a bit more information and a bit more education, you'd be able to let those answers fall and sit better in your gut? Because we've found that people who have educated themselves, don't we seem to transform? It's a transformation.
It is.
It's a transformation of how they talk. It's a transformation of how they react and respond.
Yep. And their understanding of where they are on the track to getting out the other end. It's a journey, and if you have a lawyer and no understanding of the process, you never know where you are and how long it's going to last. I mean, you and I talked ad nauseum as I explained it to you, and that's why we realised people didn't have that clarity.
Yeah. If you're in a dark tunnel in a train and you don't know where that train's going or what's on the map, you're just going to think you're going to be in the dark forever. But if you know, oh no, I'm just going in the tunnel between England and Paris or wherever
and there's
it is,
a light.
And I'll get out the other end soon. I've just got to get through all this. Then you'll feel so much better.
You will.
And so lastly, we've got lots of free resources you can download on our website if you need any support. Please call 1-800-RESPECT if this has triggered you in any way. Please call 13 11 14 Lifeline in Australia as well. But just a reminder, your answers don't define you. Okay, like Mum said, it only takes one person. All the answers show is they explain the behaviours you're experiencing.
That's right.
Not saying you're high conflict. They're not saying you're manipulative, controlling. It's just explaining what you're experiencing. And by knowing what you're experiencing and clarifying that in your head, you can prepare a strategy to take those steps forward in a much quicker, cheaper way.
Yes, it's the dynamic, isn't it? The divorce dynamic that you're dealing with. Yes.
Yeah.
And if this has helped you in any way, please subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube or on podcasts, and like and maybe pay it forward by sharing it to someone or just liking it, because I don't know how our listeners have come to find us, but over the years it seems to be it's word of mouth, someone telling the other person.
One lovely lady wanted to pay it forward, Mum. I don't know if I think I told you this, and she chose a charity called Laura and Lynn in
England. Oh, Ireland.
In Ireland, I think it was. Yeah, so that was lovely, and we really love that. But if you can just give us 5 stars, if you can just write a review, we can get this podcast out to more people. We can help more people, and maybe someone will do this quiz, and it may be the start of a journey that will be so much better for them. And if you're listening to this, and this is the start of your realization of your journey, welcome. We're here for you. Yep. We'll guide you on the way, and you're going to be okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Mum, for your time, and we'll see you all next week, guys.
No worries, Laura. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you, Dave.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review, and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only, and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.